Hello there! Today we're diving into this striking ink drawing using our 24-piece drawing ink colours. I like how this piece captures the movement of the boat and the sense of adventure. So let's get started. Given the technical nature of this drawing, I've chosen to transfer the outline rather than freehand it. This ensures that we don't miss any of those finer details. To transfer the image, first shade the backside of the drawing with a dark pencil. I'm using a 7B. Then flip it over and tape it to your blank page. Cotton watercolour paper is perfect for ink projects because of its ability to hold both water and pigment without warping. Before taping, detack the tape slightly so it doesn't damage the paper on removal. Now grab a HB pencil and go carefully over the outlines. Take your time here and make sure you capture every little detail. Try to keep that pencil work within the lines, but don't worry if it goes a little outside. We'll be covering this in the next step with the pen. Once you're satisfied with the outline, gently remove the sheet. Now we'll take a 0.3 graphic fine liner and go over the details again. These pens are pigment based as opposed to water based, meaning when we add ink on top, it won't smudge. Plus, being pigment based makes them archival qualities, so they'll last. I like to start with the border. You can use a ruler, but I prefer an organic freehand approach. Then I like to work from left to right, adding details as I go. If you're into projects like this one, subscribe to Creative Connection. You can get heaps of inspo, ideas, tips and tricks delivered directly to your inbox, and it's all for free. As I work, I'm varying my pressure to create some line weight variation. This helps the piece feel more dynamic. Once the outline is complete, we can start hatching in the darker areas. I'm focusing on areas at the back of the boat and the structures where shadows would naturally fall. Now it's time to mask out the areas where we want to keep white. Masking fluid is perfect for this. Pour a bit into the lid and use an old brush to cover those areas. Since masking fluid is latex based, it can be tricky to clean out of brushes. So I recommend using an old brush. I'm using a liner brush because it holds a lot of fluid. To create the foam in the water, dab the masking fluid lightly across the surface in little streaks. These will suggest the froth on the waves. Don't forget to add a circle in the sky for the sun. Let this dry naturally. If you use a hairdryer or heat gun, it can make the masking fluid bond too tightly to the paper, making it harder to remove. Once the masking fluid is dry, you can grab a wooden drawing board and some drawing inks. Start with sunflower and tangerine with a little bit of water. Mix the two and apply it lightly across the sky, beginning at the horizon. The beauty of using inks is that they let you create lighter tones without rushing, like you often have to do with watercolour. And remember, a little ink goes a long way. Don't worry about staying perfectly within the lines, it'll just add some interest to the piece. You'll notice I've flipped the page upside down, which makes it easier to work with the flow of the sky. Next, darken the mix slightly with more tangerine and create a band of colour with a small gap between two sections. This gap will make it easier to blend the colours seamlessly. Stay inspired and don't miss a video from us. Subscribe and leave a comment below with what you'd like us to create next. We'd love to hear from you. Now finish the sky by applying pure tangerine across the top, blending it into the lighter section below. While the sky dries, we need to bring that orange hue down into the water as a reflection. Use the watered down sunflower to lightly brush across the water, keeping your strokes light and broken to suggest the light reflections, and let that dry. Now let's add some phthalo green. Start by adding phthalo green along the horizon and bring it down toward the bottom of the page. Phthalo colours are incredibly strong, so always water them down before using. When you dilute phthalo green, it takes on a lovely sort of bluish hue, perfect for water. As you paint, be sure to leave some of that warm orange peeking through so it reflects the sky. Let this dry. Now, using pure phthalo green and a fine liner brush, add short strokes into the water to suggest the choppy ocean. Keep these strokes brief and allow the background to show through in some spots. Say goodbye to Art Block and hello to Creative Connection. We're always thinking of new ways to keep you inspired, so subscribe to get project ideas, lesson, inspo and more sent directly to your inbox. As you move down the page, switch to a larger brush to make longer strokes. Let your strokes become looser and wider as you move farther down. Keeping the strokes small at the horizon and creating them larger as we work down the page suggests perspective. Remember, this is one of those steps where less is more. It's easy to overdo it, but you can always go back and add more if needed. When you get to the middle section in front of the boat, water the paint down a bit before adding the strokes. This will create a calmer look for the water near the boat, making the waves around it appear more dynamic. Once everything is dry, remove the masking fluid gently. I like to use my finger for this. Just rub it back and forth until it peels off without damaging the paper beneath. Now we can add a wash over the whole piece to tie everything together and add more realism. I'm mixing sunflower with a touch of sienna and applying it over the sails and the boat, as there's rarely pure white in life. Next, mix up a dark brown using sienna, tangerine and black with a little water. Add this mix to the front of the sails. Use short strokes across the mainsail to suggest the folds and creases. For the top trimmings of the boat, use straight sienna to mimic a rich red mahogany colour. Darken the mix with a little bit of black for the shadow areas. For the boat's shadow areas, mix sienna, black and a little water. Refer to your colour guide for the boat's reference. This is available on our website. It's also helpful to keep a spare sheet of paper nearby to test colours before committing them to the painting. Ink is the perfect medium for showing off intricate details. With other painting mediums, fine details are often only suggested, but with ink you have the complete control over every line. Even though this piece will feature a lot of fine details, the beauty of ink is that it still retains a slightly painterly quality due to how the ink can bloom on the paper. On the shadowed side of the boat, the stern, I've mixed phthalo green into the brown mix and applied it to the back of the boat. Now let's add a darker shade to our sailor's chest. I've mixed phthalo blue with a touch of black to mute the colour. For his hair we can add straight black. For the skin tone I mix sienna with a little tangerine. Once the sail is dry again, darken the shadows . Add any last details with your pen. I'm using a 0.3 Fineliner once more. To soften the sun, add a little water and let it sit for a few moments. Then take a paper towel and dabbing off any excess. Use more water in circular motions to create a smooth gradient, dabbing off any excess as you go. And voila! Well, we hope you enjoyed creating this piece with our drawing inks. The colours are so bright and vibrant, perfect for a detailed pen and ink drawing like this one. Stay tuned for more exciting projects and we'll see you in the next one.